The moment of creation is a form of magic, where an off becomes an on, a 0 becomes a 1, then another, and another, until, deep in the complexity, you discover order, speed, reliability, power. Experience the WD Black NVMe SSD. Fueled by darkness. Level up to NVMe SSD performance.
To become who we are. This is my moment. I got a most exciting time. It's all about humanity. About humanity.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, good morning and welcome back to day 2 of the GC Community Cup Rainbow Six Siege, brought to you by display partner Samsung, associate partner WD Black, Colorful, and Games the Shop. We had a pretty interesting day yesterday where we had four best of threes played, two on stream and two off stream, that is, where we did see a pretty dominant Reckoning Esports squad. Almost flawless victory over two maps where I think they dropped a total of about 3 rounds. So, a pretty good showing from them yesterday, where you do see them facing off against Phoenix today to have a deciding spot in the grand finals. And we did have Hoff Esports play against Ultra Instincts on stream as well, where Hoff, it seemed like a breeze, right? They didn't really have much in way of countering them, but Ultra Instinct did put out the best fight they possibly could. Today, though, we will have both the semifinals and the grand finals, which is going to be a spectacle in and of itself. Because, well, we know that Reckoning has it in them, but with tournaments like these, the underdog run is surely possible, and that's something that Reckoning should have in the back of their head as well. Joining me today is going to be Serenius. So, what do you feel about the Serenius? How do you think that day one went, at least in your books?
The matches that happened last night, and they were like quite fun, at least with the Reckoning Esports and the Team OP, like considering how many rehost and other things that took place. And about the Hoffen Esports and the Ultra Instinct that we saw, Ultra Instinct gave them a similarly tough time as even if they were new to the scene, and yet they could go against the opponent team so well.
Exactly. And Reckoning have come in with a newer kind of game style where we see them go ultra aggressive. And we have the video ready as well for TBD versus Hoffen Esports, where we have Border to start things off, which is Hoffen Esports' map pick, Cafe to try to even things out with TBD's map pick, and to finish things off, we have Clubhouse. So I'd say this is a pretty standard pick ban. This is a standard draft when it comes to Indian Siege. I wouldn't expect anything else where we have all the maps which all these teams are accustomed to, nothing out of the ordinary. And let's hope that we have a similar thing in the draft. Again, expecting standard drafts here, expecting no Mira to come, expecting Mira to be banned, expecting perhaps the Nomad to be banned here today. I feel like if they do ban the Nomad and the Ying, things will get pretty interesting because these are meta operators, and if you remove them, TBD might be out of comfort zone where Hoffen Esports could potentially capitalize upon.
Yes, indeed. And we can see that the first ban that came in from the Hoffen Esports was Thermite, and they are left with only one hard breacher, that is Hibana. And now we can see, now we are looking at what TBD will go for in the attacking ban, and they go
Maverick.
with Maverick.
Yeah, good enough. You'll always expect one hard breacher and one utility hero to be removed from the equation. So they are going the pretty standard route when it comes to the banning phase. Should expect maybe an Echo and a Mira to be taken out of the equation here. There we go.
And once
The
again,
Mira's out.
yep, Mira is out of the equation. And I'm guessing, let me guess, Hoffen Esports will go with the classic Echo ban right there. As it is, Mira can be quite powerful with her Black Mirror if it's placed very correctly in a lot of places. And Echo, as always, with his yokai, has been always been powerful. Oh, we can see that
Wow.
Goyo is banned this time in this round. And yes, it is, since Goyo is one of those versatile operators with his Vector and his three Vulcan shields, which placed in a correct way can provide an absolute plant denial thing to the attackers.
Exactly. One thing that scares me though is the defenders have a huge edge here because they have the smoke, they have the echo. It's pretty easy when you have two denies to play out of the objective. So it's got to be a very strenuous clear when it comes to the offense. I expected maybe something like a Jackal to be into the mix just to remove as much potential to a backstab as there is. And a castle pick. This is something that I'm pretty interested to see because I don't really see much of castle, especially when it comes down to siege in India. So let's see how they put this to good use.
Of course, as we can see that in the attacking team, someone changed to IQ, which is a good choice indeed, because in the map like border, and especially when Echo is in the equation, in the defending side, IQ is quite much needed to, to take out those invisible yokai drones that could possibly wobble you when you're trying to defuse the bomb.
Exactly. You do need that one bit of insurance, right? And the IQ just provides that and above, considering that she's a real quick operator. And like we saw yesterday, if they kick up the pace a notch, they might potentially catch Hoffen Esports off guard. But they have set up for the archive defense, archive and armory, which, if you do remember yesterday, on the back of good crossfires, it's pretty hard to get this side under control if you are the offense. So something they need to do well is to approach the site slowly, and when they do, they need to be able to break these crossfires set in by Hoffen Esports.
Yes, of course. We can see that the site has been already set up by Hoffen Esports with a few rotations here and there near the CCTV, as we saw. And we can see that the attacking team, that is the TBD, they're pushing through the office wall, which seems to be not reinforced at the moment. No, I feel like it is. And Doc is already
Wow.
holding the office, and
They know
he might be.
exactly what's up, though. This
Yep,
might be
they
the
do.
early picking coming the way of TBD, as they have gotten the information on the dog. The Zafia trying to line up the concussion, as there should be the initiation now. 2 minutes on the clock. Hoffen Esports relatively split apart. And TBD, they're just grouping up in unison to spearhead this push from the corridor. Again, this drone work is absolutely beautiful, because now TBD are going to be put in, Hoffen Esports are going to be put in an uncomfortable position. It's not really that advisable to relocate, especially during this phase, and they're choosing their fights and winning it as well, as both the picks come the way of Hoffen Esports. The offense simply being melted and shredded down to its mere knees, as finally they find something to work with. 2 versus 4, and now they have a little bit of control, but they have lost a significant amount of manpower. Hoffen Esports, all they had to sacrifice was the dog. What an amazing start.
And still the defenders are yet on their move, and one thing they can do is we see that Thatcher goes down. It's 1v3, and yes, once again the defenders win this round despite giving the attackers an opportunity to push through the office. I mean, just one of their mistakes was they left one of the walls unreinforced, and they just had to breach into it. But however, that dog we saw was holding the office quite well.
One thing that scared me a little bit is Doc bought the perfect bait. Everybody was ready for the jump towards Doc, and everyone chimed in. The Doc only died after, I think, 3 members of the offense did, which is a pretty good trade. So something that Hoffen Esports have been working toward is these crossfires, which we did see yesterday as well. And that is something that the offense really needs to be wary about, because every time they walk in, they potentially could be walking into a trap.
Of course, that is in giving the fact that the defenders are quite good at the gunfights, the people from Hoffen Esports. And we can see that on the attacking team, TBD goes with Nomad, Zofia, Thatcher, Hibana, and IQ as always. And on the defense team, Hoffen goes with Smoke and Kaid this time, and Elysian. And we can see that they took the basement, the ventilation bomb site this time. And since there are a lot of hatches, I feel that Kaid is quite needed here. And the attackers, I feel like they're going with a particular push, like from a one point or the other. So Legion might be helping to slow them down.
I feel like, at least for border, it's essential for you to either have a sledge or a puck, because the amount of use either of those operators has is immense. The amount of pressure you can put on the defense, the verticality aspect of this map is it's just a very offense-oriented map when it comes to the pincer, which they can really turn the tables around with. Surprised to see Hoffen Esports not being pressured in that aspect whatsoever, as for now, I feel like the Nomad should deny them a good bit of aggression, but it's not the aggressive tendencies that's helping them. It's more of the aggressive crossfire they have set in place, which I don't think the Nomad's perfectly countering as of yet.
And we can see that the attackers are 2 minutes into the run. Attackers are already pushing through the offices, trying to make it roam clear. And I feel like they're already aware of the vigil that is kind of scared. And once again, they do get that vigil down, and the defenders are one less of a roamer. And we can see that even despite the attacking team not having a buck or a sledge, they're yet playing
Ooh.
the vertical, and it
Woohoo!
costs them a bit.
Bomb located by attackers.
Exactly, and considering they still have a smoke up, it's going to be real hard for TBD to even assume that they can get an easy plant in. Mind you, there is a minute 35 left on the clock, but they really need to get a move on here as they are in doorstep of an objective, but they're yet to walk into the booby trap. Spamming their way through, looking for a response, but that's simply not the case. They're going to be holding rock solid to its armory, and they know it as well. The Thatcher is holding the angle, not allowing anybody from Hoffen Esports to try and potentially reposition or re-engage. The nade should be coming in at any moment, alongside a flash to help on the entry, and TBD, they really need to get these frags and they need to get these objectives under control. Spam through, the breach through actually, as now they find some grounds to work with within the armory, and Hoffen Esports still have the smoke up. So it's not going to be as much of a stress for them as it's going to be much of a stress buster, knowing that they're just going to wait and expect them to jump into that trap.
Three men on the defense side, and it's already 40 seconds to the round, and we can see that half of the attackers from TBD, they're trying to play vertical, and two of them, I suppose they're down there trying to defuse the plant. Excuse me, trying to plant the diffuser, and we can see that the attackers have already taken over the bomb site.
Well, now 20 seconds left. They're yet to gain any grounds within the side. This is going to be very uncomfortable for TBD to say the least, as they are trying to reposition at the worst possible moment. They're going to attack from the outside. I think a more expected telegraph play as the jump comes in, but the Hibana couldn't last for any longer. 5 seconds on the clock, and this has to be a run for Hoffen Esports. Beautiful job on the hold. It doesn't matter what TBD do at this point. Hoffen Esports rock solid in their defense, just not allowing much room for error when it came to the offense, and every single time they went and tried the vertical aspect of this map, it simply floundered because again, when you do have the sledge and the buck, it's far more easier and faster to get the verticality aspect in. Right now, what they try to do is they try to use their soft breaching charges to potentially get a pick off, but again, that takes far too long and it's more telegraphed of a play.
That is true. We could see that in the previous round. I saw that Hoffen Esports let those attackers somehow take over the bomb site, but I would say that their retaking the bomb site was absolutely amazing.
Attackers need to locate and defuse.
For now, Hoffen Esports starting off things strong with the 2-0. And again, this is Hoffen Esports map pick, right? So you expect it to go this route, but I feel like TBD are just a teeny bit indecisive as to what they want to do, especially showing in the last round. I hope that this is an issue that they do fix in the rounds coming forward, but as of now, nothing could be said.
20 seconds into the preparation phase, we can see that defense team this time they went with the ventilation bomb site, as they won the last 2 rounds. And on the defense side, we see Maestro into the play this time, and Vigil and Smoke and Jaeger, of course. And since they are playing in the ventilation once again, yeah, it is obvious to see Kaid into the play. And on the attacking side, we see Ash and Thatcher and Sledge this time. Of course, they knew that they have to play vertical and they have to take a Sledge or a buck.
Yeah, it's finally refreshing to see TBD go the conventional route, but let's see if that will favor them by any standards.
As we can see that attackers are going for the roam clear this time. They have to. It is always advisable to push to the the topmost floors before pushing into the bomb site, as to clear the roaming people who are out there running around in the map.
2 minutes on the clock. The Hibana, she's set up fairly aggressive considering the positioning of the rest of her team. And now with the Zofia getting aggressive as well, start with the initial drone work, but this is a little scary and not as comforting as you might imagine. Hoffen Esports, they find an early pickoff and it's on the sled, so the verticality aspect completely removed from the picture, and now TBD, they need to find a way to retaliate, as being a man down, especially the sledge, is certainly not favorable.
Certainly not, as we can see that My MIV gets Luther and 4-man on the defense and 4-man on the attack as well. Now 1 minute 30 seconds into the round, and the droning goes in.
They still do
And
have the kite and the smoke up, so they have pretty good. They have a pretty good chance to ruin whatever they set in play.
you can see that Hibana is right now they lost one of their players who could potentially give them a vertical play, and now Hibana is left with her Hibana charges that is she is using on the hard floor instead of a reinforced hatch.
Attackers bomb diffuser had been. Attackers recovered the bomb diffuser.
46 seconds into the round, and Leem is left, and 1v3 goes into the round, and defenders back the win for this round. And once again, round 4. Round 4 into the round, and we see Nomad Zofia IQ into the play this time. Hibana and Buck, of course. They knew that they had to get the work done, and this time they have to rely on breaking those soft walls and the soft floors if they're trying to get close to the defenders. And on the defending side, we see Mozzie taken into the account along with Castle, Echo, Jaeger, and Doc. We can notice one more thing about this round is that
Attackers need to locate
Doc
and defuse
and
bombs.
Echo both are ACOG having defenders. So let's see what play they come up with. And Mozzie, of course, being one of those operators whom you can rely all the information on, is into the play. Hoffen Esports went with the armory offices this time, and only 12 seconds into the preparation phase. And we can see that a TBD has not yet won any rounds, whereas Hoffen Esports was able to bag 3 wins for themselves. Let's just see what draft they come up with this time.
Attackers have dropped the bomb diffuser. Cover the diffuser.
Castle making a potential rotation into the CCTV that actually provides quite a well angle if you're holding it from the office.
Yeah, exactly. And this castle pick is again something that I'm a little skeptical about, but it feels like Hoffen Esports are playing to their comfort. And hey, this won't be a draft that you see that regularly, but even with both denies up, they still do opt for a dock, which I find a little surprising in all honesty. I feel like if they have both the echo and the smoke up, it creates so much more leverage that Hoffen Esports could use as the time goes down.
You would see 2 minutes into the round, and the attackers have already made it to the office site. I mean, at least near the office site, and the office window we can see Buck is holding a cheeky angle, and we can see Pinsy takes down Luther. Only 1 minute 50 seconds into the round. That's so early. And Zofia trying to blind those defenders, and office wall is already breached. She goes in, tries to find in any potential defenders. Does she do it? No, she gets blinded by her own teammate, and it goes to 4v3 in no time. I think we can say it was done in the blink of an eye, and yet
Exactly.
again we can see that the attackers are still inside the office trying to make a crossfire happen right there.
Still yet to find any success though for Hoffen Esports, as now they're getting pushed, and TBD, they've been clinical about this process thus far. For now, Hoffen, the only thing that could potentially save them is perhaps an echo bailout where they could get an early frag and perhaps disengage on the back of that, but that's simply not the scenario for now. A minute on the clock. TBD, they're slowing things down, they're recomposing and regrouping. for this final push with the initial drone work coming in, the Nomad setting up for a potential backstab. And again, this is what the Jaeger is meant to counter, but he just runs with his open arms into the loving embrace
Ooh.
of the Nomad. Luckily, they do find the
Oh
refrag and a double
my.
up. Beautiful job done thus far by the Echo, but that's all he could deliver. It's down to 1 versus 2. It's all left onto the castle. As the diffuser is getting planted, he has the potential to get a kill, but that is just not gonna happen. TBD. What a round where they approach things so much with so much care and caution. They just did not give two hoots about the time. They took their own sweet time and they got their individual picks when they needed to. This is where being on time is really, really crucial because you're not left in a situation where you're feeling uncomfortable. And when you feel uncomfortable, it's often those times where you make those wrong moves.
Of course, as we saw that TVD was not one of those people to make mistakes even when the time was ticking down. But I would like to take a moment to like talk about Echo, who was able to back those very cheap and a very angled kill right there. Like those peaks, and it was just like on the brink of like it was just a pixel peak. I would say like I would like to applaud that player for such
Attackers need to
amazing
locate and
kills.
defuse bombs.
Well, TBD, they finally get a round up on the board, and Hoffen Esports, so far, so good of a start, but if they start giving away these kind of rounds, then TBD are in with one bang of the best of three, because we have this map, which is Hoffen Esports map pick, if I'm not mistaken. If they're able to get an upset on this map, it'll be pretty significant.
Since Hoffen Esports lost the previous round, I suppose they're going with the similar, like the same
5
round
seconds
once
to
again.
go.
And we can see a few defenders might be defending the CCTV site, and they have a lot more things in the mind. And into the attacking phase, we can see that the attackers are moving and might be just on their draft right now.
A bomb has been located.
Well, Hoffen Esports, I really like this castle pick initially, but I feel like, again, more denies would really help them out because they're boiling things down to about a minute mark, right? Imagine if you do have a smoke up until that point and you're able to buy an extra 30 seconds. It would put a lot of pressure onto the offense that TBD are mounting, which as of yet has been proven to break, except for the round prior. Let's see if Hoffen Esports could make that round look like a big fluke, or will TBD try and retaliate to potentially post a comeback in this half. 2 minutes on the
2 minutes
clock,
into the
and
round,
like
yeah,
you
of
said, they're
course.
already towards the corridor. So, TBD, they're making quick and decent work, and Hoffen Esports, they're not in a position where they could immediately just deny this aggression. If TBD overstep and overstay their welcome, that's when Hoffen Esports could potentially strike. And being a man down, not really sure what happened to Killen there, but he certainly ain't gonna do any of it in this round as it's left his teammates in a disadvantage. At
Of
least
course,
they
that
do
is
have
the
the Echo
case.
up.
That is the case. But however, I beg to differ a bit when they took the castle. I saw that they made another rotation into the side, and Zofia goes down from her reverse rappel, and we can see 1 minute into the round, and Killen joins back in. Echo moves in from
Attackers
his
have dropped the bomb diffuser.
cover and gets down Hibana
Wow!
and Bulk. Then
Beautiful show by the Echo.
2v4 into the round, and it goes down to 2v3 once again, and he tries to get the echo, and he does, and it's 2v2 50 seconds into the round, and IQ is already near armory.
And mind you, the Echo is down, so there's no possibility of a deny coming in from Hoffen Esports. Luckily, they do get the frag, making this down to 1 versus 2, but it's the Nomad who could potentially deny rotations, but she just enters a motor hole and gets murdered in return. Beautiful round coming in from Hoffen, and it got to a very scary point after that disconnect from Killen. Luckily, the Echo was right around the corner to pick the pieces up right where his teammates dropped it.
That is true, which angered the player, and he had to swear a bit in the game, but that's all right. I mean, all the players are present right now. It's a 1-4 or like 1 win for the TBD and 4 wins for the Killen, despite them having 4 man for quite some time. And we can see on the attacking team, we have Nomad, Buck, Zofia, IQ, and Hibana. And on the defense, we see Lockdown going with Legion, and Mozzie might be getting changed to something else. We don't know for sure. And yes,
The
he
Kaid.
does get changed to Kaid since they have taken ventilation room and there are a lot of hatches to take care of.
I really love this Legion pick where
Attackers need to
towards
locate and
the
defuse as
minute
many
and a
bombs
half
as they
mark,
can.
when TBD try to go little more aggressive, if Hoffen Esports are positioned correctly, they could potentially use the Legion traps as deadly bad traps. Because as soon as that starts to sting, he will have an inkling as to where you could be. And if they're setting up a crossfire based on how the Legion sets its traps, it could lead to a decent bit of early pickoffs, which TBD have been falling prey to on multiple occasions.
I might see that
10
happening
seconds to insertion.
if Legion doesn't go for roaming in the upstairs, but he
5 seconds
might go
left.
for like a roam since he is a 3 speed 1 armor operator. He
Attackers
and
need to
along with his
locate and
impact
defuse the
grenades, I
bomb.
feel like he is made to roam rather than anchoring. And we can see that this angry Nomad was trying to shut that pike up, which actually makes quite a lot of noise in game. And we won't blame the players. I mean, I feel like the developers have to do something about that. Anyway, they placed an early claymore into the round to avoid any sort of possible runouts.
I
What do
don't
you
think that's
think?
going to be the case, though. Hoffen Esports might not be as willing to go for any kind of runouts right now, considering that even though the scoreboard does suggest a 4-1, things have gotten fairly close. It's not as if TBD are not fighting whatsoever. They're bringing it down to the wire, but it's the wire that's slicing them in return. So Hoffen Esports would be more comfortable running their defaults and being a little more disciplined in the scenario.
And once again, we see a disconnect happening from Killen.Hoffen, and I guess everybody's wondering what's going on at this point. And however, the match goes on, and the attackers are busy trying
A
to take
bomb has
over
been
the
located.
CCTV and the armory, and they suspect a roamer being there. And the Hibana throws a flashbang, and
Again, wait,
Luther
it's the
gets down.
Nomad going down as well. So
Yep.
a huge problem for DBD because he could potentially use the Nomad a little later on towards the round, and a messy engagement taken. Sophia really needed to land her shots there, but that's simply not the case. Now down to a 3 vs 3 courtesy of a frag, and TBD finally have a man advantage. They're trying to pinch it towards the armory, but it's of no avail. The hatch offering a clear and safe exit. TBD, they have gotten Hoppen Esports, they've disengaged thus far, but they're trying to use the verticality aspect against TBD here, trying to peer up those manholes and trying to find some kind of response, which for now is simply non-existent. A minute left on the clock, and this is why you do not want to face up and take a fight. It's really hard and really messy, and it leaves it all under the smoke, who's down to about quarter HP. This is going to be all the more hard, and they're trying to use every utility they have against him. Yeah,
And
it is
he
Mia
doesn't
time.
make it.
Yeah, it is Mia time.
I can see a possible rehost coming in a few seconds, but the smoke was trying his best to do whatever he could, and IQ bags this cheeky kill from that very small angle she made on the floor.
Well, so far, I think we've had a really good start from Hoffen Esports, but there needs to be a way where they could reliably convert more rounds, right? At least for the past two, due to the early disconnect from Killen, things really didn't look that great, but his teammates did a good job in picking the pieces up. It's just that I feel like TBD were ready for that counter aggressive stance, at least for the past two rounds. It seems like they've been setting up for this mid round fight, which they've been consistently winning out. It's only towards the last 1 minute where they've been having these issues. And I feel like if Hoffen Esports could sort of rectify that, they would be on the clear green here and they could just have clean sailing.
Course, that is true, and you can see that might take it might take a bit of time for the
And Siege Siege is one game that I've been following ever since the start. So initially, when it got released by Ubisoft, I feel like it's a game that's not been given enough attention, especially in India. At least back then, I had the liberty of having a decent graphic card which could run the game, but that's simply not the case for many people, right?
Yes.
Thankfully, at least in the past year, Indian esports has had such a huge boom, and that's helped got awareness to this PC gaming scenario as well, where more people are investing into better graphics cards, and that's something that Siege really needs, especially with games like Siege CS, where you not only play it but you'd also enjoy streaming it. You would really want to get your hands on potentially an RTX or a GTX card from Colorful, who have some of the best and some of the best looking graphic cards you can get your hands on. And again, I guess the most best way you can potentially get it is through RPTech, which is the official distributor of Colorful in India. And to go alongside it, you really need a monitor that can complement the graphics cards. Contrary to popular belief, it's FPS and the frame rate and the refresh rate you play on. All these are very vital factors in what decides you having a competitive edge or a disadvantage. And for recent cases, we have upgraded to 240 hertz, as that should be the standard of what esports is right now, even in India. So I guess the best option you could go for is a Samsung curved gaming monitor, which, if you see it in the ads prior, I think I've become a new fan of racing games. What do you think about this, though, Siri? What is the setup that you have right now, and what's the thing that you'd pick up right after the quarantine?
Well, if I had the choice in my hands, I would definitely go for a well-built PC along with the Samsung's curved gaming monitor. I mean, I gotta say, I was quite impressed by, like, especially by the ad. I was like quite impressed. I might consider getting that, but I am a laptop player. I play on a laptop. I have a Legion Wi-Fi 40 laptop with a 1660 Ti, but
Well, we all have a humble beginning, so I guess it's just a start. And well, I guess this is just the start that Hoffen Esports were looking for, especially in a map like Border. Bagged 4 rounds from the get-go. Yeah, a couple of rounds did get a little breeze through, but do you think that's just something that Hoffen Esports need to be worried about, though? How do you think their offense is going to shape up, considering what we've seen thus far?
considering how they have been taking the defense round so well and the strats they're coming up with is so well thought out, I feel like they might not rush the rounds as they can feel that the opposing team, the TBD, is as powerful as they are. So I feel like they will take their attack quite slow, quite nicely, unless one of them decides to take Ash and Rush.
Well, we did see quite a bit of Ash yesterday, especially from Reckoning Esports. Do you feel like this aggressive meta is something that more teams will pick up, though? Because so far, I think I've only seen Reckoning Esports with that willingness to just go balls out aggressive and take the fights at timings which I don't think many teams can even match up, forget predict.
Of course, that is true. But I feel like the team that is playing today is feels from the way they have been playing, it feels that they have been in the Rainbow 16 for quite some time. It feels like they have been in the game, the Rainbow 16 for quite some time. However, let's see how the rounds roll up in the upcoming matches.
So this is something that I've been working on the back of my head for about a year, but you feel free to give your opinion on it. On a game like Dota, it's very hard for a relatively newer and a less experienced team to beat out a team with more experience and more time in the game. Whereas in a game like CS, upsets happen all the time and it's something that people are accustomed to. How do you feel like that scenario would play out on Siege? Do you feel like experience outweighs everything and it's real hard to beat a team with experience, or do you feel like newcomers and underdogs have a chance in tournaments?
I feel like the first option would be true since we actually saw that happening yesterday with Reckoning and the other team. As always, as everyone knows, that Reckoning has been in the Rainbow 16 for quite a long time, which means they have a lot of experience and a lot of gameplay hours. They know where the how the map is and where the places they are supposed to hide in, cover in, and where the angles are and whatnot. That actually plays out quite well on the players which are pretty much new to the team, pretty much new to the scene, and especially when the tournaments are quite new for them. I would say that playing in tournaments and playing in ranked matches is very different, because in ranked matches in Siege, you just don't know your team. You just go out and play and just put one of the most basic strats, and you just pray that your internet is good on you. Whereas in tournaments, I feel like the team, the entire team, like everything depends on the team and how well coordinated they are. So I feel like the players with most experience and like a lot of game hours and the map knowledge and everything else combined with good aim is what makes them go far ahead in the scene.
And I feel like that's the case with many FPS games. I feel like with Siege specifically, it's more about how you try and play around your teammates and timings. Very crucial that you have good communication, especially when you get down to that 1 minute phase, right? You have Team Hoffen who tried to keep the consistent denies up. We saw the Echo taking fights only later on. We saw the Smoke being potentially the last man standing in 2 rounds, if I'm not wrong. So it's been a very good case of how they're taking fights. And that's something I like to see from Hoffen Esports a lot more, because we have another best of. So this is the best of three. We are in progress with map one. We would have two more maps. I feel like TBD will be able to put up a fight. I feel like on their map pick, they should be taking that home and this should go all the way to a best of three. If Hoff Esports makes it to the finals, I cannot wait for how Hoff and potentially Reckoning could go. Mind you, I favor Reckoning to go to the grand finals, but watching Hoff versus Reckoning would be a delight to watch, because yesterday we saw a brand of Reckoning Esports where they were completely aggressive. They didn't give two hoots when they were on the offense. What's interesting is Hoff Esports look to counter that game style where they're set up for an aggressive take. And with the setup, it potentially could counter whatever Reckoning have been trying to brew in their mix. But hey, coming into this day, even Reckoning expects that they might be going against a team like Hoff. At least if not Hoff, Hoff caliber is something that they should certainly be looking towards. And I feel like with the amount of time and work Reckoning put into that game, it should be one delight of a grand finals. But hey, we're only at our first semifinals, so too much said for too less that's already happening. For now, TBD putting up a pretty formidable fight. I do feel like if TBD try and not take these early fights, right? They've been taking early fights in a very, I would call disrupted manner, where they have three men towards one side trying to storm the front. They have the other two trying to pinch around from the back lines or the sidelines and try seeing if they can get in position for a potential crossfire. But the problem is, Hoff Esports have been expecting that. Whenever they do try to go for these cheeky plays, they've been completely countered.
Of course, they did. Especially, we can talk about how Hoff Esports is pretty good at taking gunfights against all the teams they have played so far. And TBD, on the other hand, even after being very slow and nice with their push towards the defense, I feel like they have to improve a little bit on their gunfights. At least we can see right now. I mean, let's just see how the round rolls in, and maybe they would just come up with another strat in their mind.
What do you think is another strat, though? At least from your opinion, I feel like you have enough experience to perhaps get this under the bag.
Um,
So, what do you feel like is going to be your predictions, not only for this best of three, but also the second semifinals between Reckoning Esports and Phoenix?
I feel like for TBD, they're going with the basic strats right now, like pushing from the office. Like if the bomb site is downstairs, they're trying to make the upstairs roam clear. And once they actually take over the entire place, like take over the upstairs, they gradually push towards the bomb site, which is I have seen that happening a lot in a lot of matches, and also in ranked matches, and we have also done that when I used to play, and that I feel like is a very plausible strat to come up with. And talking about Reckoning Esports and Phoenix, I would just give it to the Reckoning Esports. I feel like they come up with a lot of good strats that I might not be knowing of, and since I'm yet learning the game, but that's just we are about to see in the
Hey,
future.
and the predictions is not only restricted to us. For those in chat and those on the
Yeah,
stream, who do you feel will win this entire thing? Put it down with
yeah.
the hashtag TBD, hashtag HOF, hashtag Reckoning, or hashtag Phoenix to let us know what you feel or who you feel is going to take home the trophy. At least for me, I'd put a hashtag Reckoning because I feel like they're a team and an organization who have invested a lot in Siege, both in terms of their players putting in countless hours, their coach chiming in with as much knowledge as he can, and the entire roster, like you said yesterday, feels well rounded with a lot of chemistry going in. Yes, they have the players, and we've seen so many mechanically precise players from this region, but it not only requires mechanical precision, right? Siege is a very, very tactical
Of
shooter,
course.
which requires more than just muscle memory to win. It requires so much of outreads, brains, and more importantly, it requires so much of experience, which can only be imparted by wisdom.
But that's the case. However, I can see that Phoenix can also be giving them a tough time. Looking at the brackets, which in which they bagged like 2 wins, like 2 absolute wins. So let's just see how it rolls out. And
Well,
this time we can see that the roles have been changed, and defense is up to TBD, and the attacking goes to Hoffen.
I just feel like Hoffen's offensive side would be a delight to watch. I feel like they might be able to just kick up the pace a notch. And to counter that, we have beautiful picks because the Castle and the Valk. The Castle can deny rotation avenues and potentially even shut down complete areas alongside the Valk getting aggressive information. This is something that I feel like TBD might have a slight edge in. I like this draft. I really like it because the mute, like you said, is a very underrated operator, but can deny a lot of information for the offense. And alongside the smoke, right, you have the late deny coming in as well, and potentially late choke towards
Defenders,
any side
protect
of
your
the
bombs from
offense.
being defused
It
by
feels like
attackers.
TBD might have the better draft, but overall, it seems like Hoffen Esports have more synergy in their roster.
That is the case since they have IQ to counter the electronics placed by Mute and Jaeger right there. And we have Hibana, Zofia, and an Ash Elite. Do you want to talk about the Ash Elite and how Ubisoft just wanted to make a crossover in the game, and Ash got this Elite which looks like Lara Croft from Tomb Raider.
I've
10
been
seconds
wanting
remaining.
to play some of these old school games, you know. I've been trying to get a grab of them
5
during this
seconds to insertion.
quarantine, and yeah, it's this nostalgia factor that
Attackers
I
have
really
discovered the
love
location of a
Siege
bomb.
about. For
Attackers are
those who
heading out
don't
to defuse
know,
the bomb.
Rainbow Six Siege is not the first installment in the Rainbow Six franchise. They
Yes.
also had Rainbow Six Vegas. I think I played Rainbow Six Vegas 2, if I'm not mistaken. By far one of the best tactical single player shooters that I've tried. Real good game. I feel like you guys should give it a try alongside Siege, where you could just pick it up at 4.99 at Games the Shop. But it seems like Hoffen Esports are setting up shop towards the corridors as they're waiting for a potential rogue TBD member to just walk in the crosshair.
Of course, as again we can see that Hoffen Esports is trying to take over the CCTV and the other side like Armory, and since the bomb side is below them, I can see a lot of vertical play coming from Hoffen Esports.
That's something that we didn't see much from TBD, and let's see how Hoffen Esports put it to good use. For now, TBD are not shy whatsoever, giving away at least a little bit of their information in terms of aggression. And Hoffen Esports, they just lie in wait. They're just holding nooks and crannies and hoping that somebody pops into their crosshair. And for now, they hold rock solid. Hoffen Esports really controlling the way this engagements take, as they're not offering up anything for free thus far. TBD. This is where they want Hoffen Esports, right? A minute 30, and Hoffen Esports have not progressed a good bit whatsoever, because they first need to try and secure the backstab, and only then they will be able to secure the bomb site as well, which will take a significant amount of time. With Hoffen Esports getting the initial kill, things start off well, and especially the smoke going down, which is a huge pick for Hoffen.
Of course, that's the case, and we can see that Lane gets Lion, like, so excuse me, Valkyrie, and it goes to 3v4, and that was an absolutely amazing refrag coming from team.
The man advantage at safe for Hoffen as they're doing a pretty formidable job on the offense. Ooh, that could have been a messy engagement. Jaeger almost could have won it out and made this a more redeemable round, but he gets backstabbed and he should get bagged as well. The castle prioritizing the engagement over the rest as he wants to clear the close corners, and now they potentially could double up and try doubling down on their luck. Oh wow, what a drive-by. It's just so casual for Hoffen Esports as it doesn't seem like they're going to break a sweat. It's all left on the castle. An unwinnable 1 versus 3, at least in my books, because it is going to be damn near impossible.
But that is, and since the attackers have picked up the diffusers once again, I feel like they're going for a plant, and Castle knows that very well, tries to get that IQ. Doesn't.
Ooh.
However, he loses that fight. He tried it, he tried his best, but the attackers.
If he would have
managed
gotten that first, I would say, yeah, he has a chance, but as soon as he missed the shot on the IQ, he was dead.
Yeah, he
No
gave
way for
away
him
his
to
round.
survive.
Yeah, of course.
Well, 5-2, a pretty swift map from Hoffen Esports thus far, and it's still a possibility, right, that there could be a comeback, but as the minute goes, that feels like a fleeting hope that might never come.
Because we can see on the defense, we have Valkyrie, Vamai, Pulse, Castle, and Jaeger on the play. Since they're taking the ventilation room once again, I can see that they have figured out that the TBD is, the attacking team is trying their best to take over the upstairs. So of course, Pulse is a very good play when you're playing vertical from the below, and as he can just throw his nitro and row his attackers out of the scene. And we can see that Vamai and Jaeger are into the play as well. Vamai and Jaeger, they are a duo which can stop a lot of flashbangs and a lot of candelas coming from Ying and other attackers.
They also do have the Valk, so again, aggressive information potentially in the bag for TBD, but I don't feel like that's something that will help them out as much, because often esports, you can see their patience really paying off. Even with a minute 30 ticking on the clock and them not being close to a bomb site, you didn't see them sweat, you didn't see them take uncomfortable engagements. It seemed like everything was planned from the get-go, and TBD, despite being on their timing mark, it just didn't seem like they were on their own mark when it came to taking these engagements.
Of course, already it's 2 minutes and they're outside the CCTV trying to take over the upstairs. You can see, and Hatcher is looking for any possible runouts and he didn't find anyone. And yes, once again, we can see attackers taking over the CCTV, and I hope they're able to like push into the bomb site on time.
Hoffen Esports have been setting up well towards the 1.5 minute phase as well, right? They're all in position to try and root out aggression. So TBD are not able to get out of the bomb site in any safe manner whatsoever. Being pressured from below, the IQ almost down a half HP, and that could have been a real good pick-off if, and only if, the IQ was susceptible to that C4, which he isn't. TBD. They're holding towards the armory as well. I feel like Hoffen Esports, even though they have an inkling, this could be an engagement going wrong, and exactly as said. Beautiful start for TBD as they are 2 men up. But mind you, Hoffen Esports could easily retaliate and potentially turn the tables on this round, as now they are trying to drone their way in through safety. They know that there is still a man holding in towards armory, and that potentially could be the start. The Ash left so dead low. The spam comes in, but not the kill again. This is just so much wasted time. Beautiful job from TBD to not only take these early engagements and win him out, but also draw them out so lendily. The spam comes in, but not the kill yet again, as they are retaliating, and they're doing it to perfection. The 3 versus 3, a minute left on the clock, but the HP is just so dead low for Hoffen Esports.
50 seconds already into the round, and the attackers are still in the armory trying to get hold on that vertical play. However, Zofia doesn't make it, and Lan gets double kill. It's 3v1 right now, and we have Ash with such a low health left to herself, and she has to get on all those three defenders on time, and she doesn't even have the diffuser, which is quite far away. So it's up to her to decide what she has to do in such a less time frame.
Yeah, I think it's already quits if you are Ash. There's no way that she could potentially win this out. As soon as she takes the first engagement, considering her HP,
And
yeah, can't survive for long. TBD, still with a little bit of life left in him as it goes 5 to 3 and potentially could take the lead if they are more clinical with their approach. Again, the last round, it felt like even though Hoffen Esports was set up for perfect engagements, it felt like they just got one upped, and that's not something that you could considerably that you can consistently rely on.
I would like to say that in the last round, the roaming game was quite strong on the. They had to make sure they had to make sure that attackers will not be able to get close to the armory or even taking over the office or fountains. And we can see that smoke is switched to pulse, and Thatcher is Thatcher, and the round rolls in.
Exactly. For now, do you think they need to replicate what they did right
Defenders,
now? Because
protect your
I
bombs.
feel
They've been
like
defused by
TBD did a
attackers.
very, very good job at running the clock low, especially after taking those first two engagements. They not only did not give that man away, but they also made him hold his ground. And I think he bought a good 30 seconds there towards the armory. So I feel like if they try to replicate success in that manner, it should be a very, I'd say, mighty comeback from TBD. But a lot that Hoffen Esports could do to dismantle this aggression, they potentially could phase in a Lion and a Finka combo, which I feel like would
10
be the
seconds left
answer
before
to such
insertion.
an aggressive stance from TBD. But hey, that's only me
5
talking,
seconds left.
and Hedge of Esports, they could do much of the talking themselves by getting
Attackers
this
must locate
IQ and
and
Ash
defuse the
combo
bomb.
to action alongside the Nomad, who could get pretty aggressive pretty early, but it's a risk that they might be willing to take.
They could take the risk, and I would say that uh, the attacking team is already onto their strat, and I feel like they will be taking over the, like as always. They're
Bomb
trying to
located by
go through the
attackers.
east stairs first.
I'd say pretty standard start for Hoffen Esports as well. Well set up drone to the bomb site. I can't believe that TBD didn't get wind of that drone. That could potentially what turns this round on its head, as they will have a lot of information they can play out of.
We can see the attackers on the office push again. I have been seeing this push coming from a lot of teams. As always, I'm not seeing a lot of teams going with the classic CCT and armory push. As the office push, if like when you flank those people, flank the
Attackers dropped the
defenders from
diffuser.
behind, it provides to be a much more easier task for the attackers to just take over the office and advance towards the bomb site. And we can see that 1 minute 40 seconds into the round, Hoffen loses two of their men, and Doc is pinned, and the attackers are very well aware of that. And Haiku
Wow.
has to turn away
Attackers
when the
recovered the
Jaeger
bomb
steps
diffuser.
out, and Doc just didn't see that attacker coming. And
Ooh.
3v2 into the round. It's 1 minute 25 seconds.
But Killen
And
and Luther did find a kill each, and now there's a more doable
mhm,
prospect. Down to a 2 versus 3, like you said, but they have lost a significant amount of the utility in the way of the Hibana, because now they lack a hard breacher. For now, so far, so good for TBD, but this is where we see Hoffen Esports potentially turn the round on its head. Ooh, talking about the head, it is almost offered to Luther, and he was so willing to pull the trigger. Nomad, she's gonna come in from the alternate angle as they're trying to perform a pincer, but a peek through the corridor will secure the round for TBD as DSZ gets both the kills in the bag, and they are just one round away from an equalizer. I didn't assume that they had it in them from what we saw in the first half, but it seems like now they look like a completely different beast.
in fact, they are trying their best to make that comeback happen. And we are looking at a lot of uh, we are looking at a lot of consistent plays and well thought out strats by the defense team, DVD. And we can see Valkyrie Bandit alibi taken into the account in Kaid and Jaeger. And whereas on the attacking team, we have Buck and Twitch this time, along with the Capital. I feel like since they're taking the customs inspections, I would say yes. A pick towards Pulse is a very good thing because customs is just near the ventilation, and once again, it counts as the
Defenders,
basement
protect your bombs
bomb
from being
site.
defused by
So of
attackers.
course, Pulse is a very good choice in this bomb site. But whereas in the attacking team, we see a Monty. And now I'm kind of interested to see how that rolls out with the Monty. Maybe they would just like we saw in the last round and like in the last matches by Reckoning, they could just push in with the attackers behind the Monty and might just plant in the bomb site since the bomb sites are kind of close to the main doors.
One thing that had me intrigued is, did
10 seconds
TBD
to insertion.
watch, sorry, did Hoffen Esports watch the Reckoning game yesterday? Because if they try to replicate what Reckoning did, it would be pretty hard. Because, again, you'll need to have a
Attackers are
very
moving out
dynamic
to locate
lineup
a
to
bomb
make
and
this
defuse
kind
it.
of push work. But I'm also very interested to see how much of how many of these teams in participation could perhaps replicate the strat we saw yesterday. Do you feel like this is a strat that's going to work out, though? Do you think the Monty pick is going to change much for Hoffen Esports?
Well, I feel like it depends on how well coordinated the team is. The Monty can just simply walk in and may not have any attackers on his back. However, I feel that Monty is giving the attackers a live feed. Like he's a walking drone right there. He's looking into the side and telling them maybe there's a defender out there or maybe not. He's looking into the floor and maybe he saw somebody's head right there and he's pinging. He's pinging. He knows what's up. And he is waiting for the attackers to roll in. Might be, maybe just the case he might be able to pull this off. Hoffen might be able to pull this off, but let's just see what happens later into the round. It's only 1 minute 50 seconds left on the clock.
One thing that scares me is the verticality could potentially be used up against him. Hence, he's trying to enter from the ground floor and see if he can just dot his I's and cross his T's as much as possible. For now, TBD. They've not given away much in terms of leeway, except for towards the bomb site where TBD, where Hoffen Esports have set camp. So engagement taken, and they do down a member of TBD, but luckily TBD have not lost him just as of yet. Well, it seems like they're gonna finish off the job with a knife. I'm not really sure how they got in position to do that, but
That was Monty. I feel like that was Monty who stabbed that lying bandit. And
wow.
here it goes. Oh my god. Like it's 2v5 already. And this pulse Nitro goes in. And Monty is a real Monty. And Monty's Monty means mountain movement. So
Oh
yeah,
boy,
he's
look
a
at-
strong one.
Look at the
can take over
Valk
that.
struggling to get the aim down right, and she whips her shots. Now comes where Monty puts as much pressure as possible, but with the pistol, a triple as he holds the line towards the side, and it's down to a 2 versus 2. Mind you, the Capitan was still up, so he can definitely deny them free leverage in towards the side as it's all left on the Val. He tries to take the fight at range, and it's all left on the Capitan. Mind you, with his arrow, he could get it to good use, but he challenges far too early. The Val comes in with the defuse in the nick of time, and TBD still stay alive in the semifinals as they could potentially take map 1 under their bag. What a play from the Valk.
A
Wow.
very last minute clutch and a very patient place from the Valkyrie. I mean, I'm so glad that she did not go out and peek where it was unnecessary. I mean, she just waited where the attackers would show up, and she did it. Back the win for TBD.
I still can't fathom how. Oh boy, Hoffen must be feeling horrible right now. They not only gave away a huge lead, but they gave away a round which they almost won. Even when it came down to that 1 versus 1, the Capitano really did not need to offer a fight there. He could have played a little more passive, used his flaming arrows, and tried to pick the fights on his terms and on his turf. But wow, TBD. It's going quite the distance with them. 5-5 as they force the equalizer and potentially could get map
Attackers need to locate and
point,
defuse
which
the bomb.
I didn't expect about 10 minutes ago. But now, I don't think there's any other route this will go.
Once again, I feel the defenders have gone with the ventilation bombs at this time. About the last round, I would say, OG, I feel like with the Monty and Capitao on board, I feel like they were just going in for the push, the entire push, and Monty would just somehow enter into the bomb site, and Capitao would smoke up the entire area, and another attacker would just
10
plant
seconds to
while
go.
Monty stood guarding that attacker. But however, that didn't
5
happen as
seconds
we
to
saw.
insertion.
So I feel like Hoffen has to go with something else. And yes, this time we
Attackers
don't
locate
see a
and defuse the
Monty
bomb.
on board, and this time we see an IQ, which would be a good choice since the Pulse is on board, and she would be able to take out the Pulse. I mean, at least make sure where the Pulse is when he's using his cardiac sensor.
How do you feel like Hoffen Esports' draft is this time around? It's quite similar. It did work initially the last time around, but do you think it's a problem with how they draft or how they approach the round?
I feel like they are not going with a specific draft in the rounds. However, they had a change in the draft in the last round, as we saw, like the entire attacker roster was changed. There was Monty and everyone, but this time they feel like maybe that didn't work, and we have to stick to our, the old draft we go
A
with
bomb has been
IQ and
located.
Hibana and everyone else. Since the defense, like the defense, excuse me, the bomb
Attackers have
site is down
located a bomb.
below, they have to take over the CCTV and archives.
Well, it seems like they are going to try and contest with Armory, where a couple of members from TBD lying away. Beautiful C4 that actually disposed of the Sophia quite early, but again, a fight that the Jaeger did not need to commit to. He lost the majority of his HP to that fight, and trying to disengage, he will end up going down. A fair trade across the board, but they still have to smoke up, so TBD will be very comfortable considering the pacing of this round.
That is true, and as TBD is trying their best to deny the attackers from taking over the archives, and 1 minute 10 seconds into the round, and 4 attackers, 4 defenders are alive, and maybe, just maybe, Ash might not be able to take that kill, and smoke goes in. The toxic fields are in the place, but Ash is not affected by it, and she goes on the drone. And the attackers are making sure that they have to clear the place of the roamers before they go into the bomb site.
And mind you, thing to take away from that is he used 2 of his canisters, so that's the majority of his utility down the drain, and you need to make do with what little he has remaining. Full breach to the valve, surrounded at all sides, but how? How have Hoffen Esports given that frag away? There's no refrag up in the next time, and the valve just continues to dish out damage. 2 players to its armory, but it doesn't seem like they're going to make much work. Luckily, they get the refrag, but at what cost? Look at the amount of time that's gone down. It's only 25 seconds left on the clock, and they need to not only get to a bomb site, but also plant the diffuser and take their engagements, which doesn't seem like it's going to happen. Another smoke canister up, and that's time. Team TBD, they're doing a real good job at keeping Hoffen Esports humble at the clock, as now they're going to force their way through, but into a shotgun, bam, he goes down to a 2 versus 2, and this is becoming so much of a hurdle for Hoffen Esports to overcome. TBD, what an amazing comeback, as they now have the lead 6-5.
Well, what can I say? There was a time when they were sitting on only 0 wins, and now they're leading the scoreboards with 6 wins, whereas Hoffen has only 5 wins. I mean, let's just see, like that, we can call that a very good comeback. Don't you agree, OG?
Against all odds, because
Of
it
course.
was down 5-2 if I'm not mistaken, and 5-2, or yeah, it was 5-2 when the half ended. And with them coming back with such a dominant streak, boy oh boy, this is going to be one hell of a semifinal to start our day off with.
That is true, and we can see that TBD will not back off, and they will be strengthening their information, like the field of information. As we can see, Valkyrie and
Attackers need
Maestro
to
into the
locate and
play,
defuse
and
as many bombs as
Maestro's
they can.
Maestro's camp. You see the evil eyes. I mean, even if he dies, it can provide such good information to the defenders if it's placed correctly in a lot of places. And we can see that defense is going with the armory bomb site, and we have Vamai and Jaeger into the play, and to counter all those Capita bolts or the flashbangs or the frag grenades coming up. And we have the pulse once again for the vertical plays. And I can
10
see that
seconds to
it
go.
is working. In fact, from what we saw last round, the pulse was able to throw
5
his
seconds
nitro
remaining.
and get that early kill in the round.
You know, one thing that I
Attackers
really
are
love
moving out to
seeing
locate a
is
bomb and defuse it.
this comeback, right? It is done in such a way where TBD, although they look like the better team, both these teams are so dead even. And Hoffen Esports, how have you fallen so low? Even, oh boy, the man disadvantage, and now they're up against it. Backs to the wall as TBD try to punch in the digits into them. This is turning out to be one hell of a bloodbath, as both these teams are dead even, and TBD right now it just feels like they're on a spree that just cannot be stopped or withheld by Hoffen Esports.
IQ goes down early in the round, and that is kind of sad for the Hoffen since they won't be able to take out the cardiac sensor man, that is Pulse, without IQ's help. However, they haven't given up yet, and they're trying to take over Armory. And Zofia tries to get that Maestro's. Like, I feel like that was Maestro, and she does try to get that gunfight, but I feel like the defender has fallen back.
A minute 50 on the clock regardless, and I guess the defender falling back is what they were hoping for, because they not only want to maintain this man advantage but also enforce it as well. A good bit of drone work coming in, and finally Hoffen Esports getting dismantled piece. It's such a carnage TBD willing to take, and they are taking it on their terms and on their turf as well. Hoffen Esports, 3 men remaining on the board at the Capitan, the Zofia, and the Ash. Again, a duo that you would like going in because there is a little bit of utility at their disposal, and given Ash's speed, it potentially could be a turnaround. That kill coming in, it certainly could be, considering the Evil Eye is still up. Not the best of picks, as the Evil Eye could still be used to deny. A minute left. TBD on the precipice of taking this map. Hoffen Esports trying their hardest and their level best to deny. They're closing in Zofia, uncomfortably close to it. The objective as she's left unguarded. How have they not watched towards the outside corridor? This is such a blunder coming in from Hoffen Esports. Luckily, the Jaeger keeps every bit of utility the Ash could throw at bay. And now TBD, with 30 seconds left on the clock, this has to be a flawless hold. Hoffen Esports, their last-ditch attempt at trying and forcing overtime. They're going to be able to plant the diffuser. Nobody from Hoffen Esports, TBD set up for the deny, but they're ready to take this engagement raw. 15 seconds left, and now they can potentially start punching in the digits. A 1 versus 2 for the Ash to pull out as she's punching in the digits. Mind you, the lines are closing in on her, and the fight taken, but not one out. Beautiful reaction from the Ash as she's again faked the plant, and she has a little bit of time to work with. The Pulse a little late on the deny, but he has secured it. Safe goes the way, and he has led it to a safe victory. Mind you, that got very uncomfortable towards the end there, especially the last minute. It could have gone really messy, but the Pulse came in at the best possible time with the deny, and what a comeback. TBD, I really didn't expect this for the first game of the day, but they have shown us that there is no team in this top 4 which critically outranks the other. So a beautiful showing. Anything to take away from this map, Sari?
Map, of course. Border is, as always, I have heard a lot about people, like, I have heard a lot about this map saying that it's a little bit defender-sided, but from what we can see that if the attack is timed correctly with good coordination and good timed push, well, it can be won very easily.
And we should have Cafe coming up for map 2, which is TBD's map pick, mind you. So they've upset Hoffen Esports in their map pick. Let's see what TBD do on their respective map pick. What do you assume? Do you think that's going to be a 2-0? I feel like this might be a 2-0 from TBD, considering what they've shown us in map 1.
That could be the case, since I know so far that Hoffen's map is border and they lost it to TBD. And now they have to up their strats game, or maybe they have to study their opponent's push in order to even get more kills than they did before. And since TBD has chosen Cafe, I'm assuming that they're gonna rock that bomb
In the
site,
bag.
of course.
Exactly. So do be tuned in for map 2, as we should go live with it in a couple of minutes. Back after a short break. Before we do go, though, a huge shout out to our sponsors to make this tournament possible. Display partner Samsung, associate partners WD Black, Colorful, and Games the Shop. A huge shout out to NVIDIA as well to make this tournament possible. We'll be back after a short break. Don't go anywhere.
The moment of creation is a form of magic, where an off becomes an on, a 0 becomes a 1, then another, and another, until, deep in the complexity, you discover order, speed, reliability, power. Experience the WD Black NVMe SSD. Fueled by darkness. Level up to NVMe SSD performance.
To become who we are. This is my moment. I got a most exciting time. It's all about humanity.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the second game of this amazing semi-finals where TBD might have pulled one of the most incredible comebacks I've seen in quite a while. And to be honest, I just cannot wait for map 2. Before we do go any further though, a huge shout out to our sponsors to make this tournament possible. Display partner Samsung, partners WD Black, Colorful, Games the Shop, and a huge shout out to NVIDIA to make this tournament possible as well. Hoff Esports, it's going to be a bitter loss, right? But you hope that they can strike back. You hope that they can deliver a good three maps in the semifinals. But I just feel that that might not be the case. TBD, they're looking far too powerful right now. What do you think, Sari? How do you think that this is going to go down?
As we saw in the last rounds, last matches, we saw that TBD, despite losing a lot of rounds in the beginning, they somehow managed to get back on the top and they were victorious in the last match. But this time, we can see on the attacking team, on the attack, we see Jackal being banned, and often esports goes with the Thatcher ban.
This
And
is actually a ban that I find makes a good bit of sense because with the Jackal removed, it allows both these teams to have a little more roaming potential when they're on the defense. So again, Thatcher ban is something to be expected. Most teams go with the conventional one utility and one hard breacher ban. And on the defense, Mira ban, which, like you said, pretty expected considering how broken a Black Mirror could be at point, and should expect something along the lines of maybe an Echo ban here. A pretty standard route, to be honest, for any Indian meta, but it's the Maestro ban. So another hero that potentially could work on denying, but the Echo and the Smoke are still up. I don't feel a lot about this.
I feel like Maestro is a good ban in a map like Cafe because his black eyes, when placed in a lot of places, especially in the third floor, like he can be quite powerful with his black eye placements. What do you think?
Well, I feel like that's going to be a very crucial part to the puzzle. I've seen so many rounds where that black eye could just turn the table, right? Especially when you place it on the objective, it puts so much pressure as to how safe your plan could be. So that's something that I really find to be the turning point of potentially of a few rounds, but I don't think that's going to be the case this time around. For now, they have the echo up, they have the mute. So they have pretty good denial of both information and
Attackers need to
objective.
locate and defuse as
Hoffen
many bombs as they
Esports,
can.
they've been comfortable being on a slower pace towards the offense. But that's something that might scare me because, again, the roam potential from TBD is just massive. And the way they just dismantled Hoffen Esports' aggressive side in the previous map, this map fears me more because there might not be as much verticality when there comes to this map as much as bottom might have. But there certainly is the ability to set crossfires which will just shred the offense to, I guess, its knees.
10 seconds
That
to
could be
insertion.
true, but since the defense team has gone with
5
the
seconds to insertion.
topmost floor this time, I don't see any verticalities into the play unless the attackers go into the second floor, like the train and stuff. They might just start shooting upwards. We can see on the attacking side we have IQ, Ash, Sophia, and Nomad and Thermite into the play. Since there is no Thatcher, it might be a little difficult for them to like EMP those hatches
I feel like
without
the
the
only way
Thatcher.
it could be done is potentially an IQ and a lucky wallbang, but apart from that, not much success. I don't feel like a Twitch drone would be the best of choices, considering that you'll need a pretty patient Twitch player and an unreliable and an unwary defense, which simply won't be the case. So yeah, it's gonna be pretty hard to counter the mute in this scenario, as you can see his gadget being put to the max of his use. But hopefully he's been able to grab a teeny bit of information from where they will be able to find it, but not as much of reliable information because everybody from TVD would be relying on mutes jammers to do the majority of their work, which is play in the shadows.
That is of course true, but however, we can see that Thatcher has managed to make it to those reinforced walls, and I feel like it has been mute jammed. So I suppose one of the attackers could rappel from the piano to get that mute jammers down. However, Echo goes down on that attacker early in the round, and it's only 1 minute 20 seconds, and we have Zofia down on the Hoffen side.
It's gonna be pretty hard considering they've lost Zafia. That's the decent bit of firepower down the drain. They do have the Ash and the IQ who could potentially storm the front, but that's not the approach they should be looking for, considering when there's a mute in the opposition, most of your information goes 9.
And the attackers make it to underneath the hatches one by one, and the wall goes off into the piano, and it's up to the attacker, it's up to the defenders to defend that side. And we see an Ash near the cigar shop trying to get an angle onto that place.
Hoffen Esports, they're being slow about this after the initial man disadvantage, and well, this is why they were trying to be as patient as they could. They try to find one loose end from the side of TBD, which was the castle. Again, castle has become more of a consistent pick when it's come to TBD's defense. Do you think it's been paying off its weight though?
Yeah, of course, because Castle is such a useful operator in places like
15
this,
seconds remaining.
like okay, that was a good kill, and the attackers have already made it into the bar, and Lame goes with triple kill, 3v2 right there, and the diffuser goes down, it's 3v1, 3 seconds, and the pulse goes, no, he doesn't do that, although the nitro goes off, and it's up to him to retake the site. Does it do it? Excuse me, that was not pulse, that was the Mozzie who goes down from the air jab and flies like a piece of paper.
Wow, they just let that go in the final few seconds. I'm not really sure why the Echo had to relocate there. There was no reason for him to leave his position. He could have tried working off his drone, but something went wrong in the last few seconds. I'm not sure if it's nerves or just team communication, but it just didn't seem like TBD were in their comfort zone.
I feel like Hoffen is already hating on that mute for so much, since they were the ones, I feel like they were the ones who banned the Thatcher and were like, you know what, we're gonna take the mute and you guys won't be able to enter this side because this is our map. On the defense side, we can see Echo, Jaeger, Vigil, Mozzie, and Mute. Of course, once again, we can point out the fact that, okay, Mute has been swapped to Castle this time, but I would like to make a point that Mozzie and Mute, the duo, is so powerful when it comes to
Attackers need to
snatching
locate
away,
and defuse
snatching
bombs.
away the drones from the attackers. I mean, a lot of information to offer to the defenders right there. But we can see that Castle is once again into play, and I feel like they will go with the same Castle strats like they did in the last round.
So for those relatively new to Rainbow Six Siege, what do you think they need to know about Mozzie? Because he's not an operator that many new players do take, but he seems like one that is quite recurring, especially in the semi-final matchup.
The new players, of course, Mozzie, initially he was taken well for his gun, the submachine gun. I feel like it's called the
5
Ronnie.
seconds to go.
But soon after, when the time went by, a lot of players found his potential, like how powerful Mozzie can be in such situations when the defenders are depending on the information given to them. Of course, a team a team can be very powerful when they have a lot of information on the attackers, and that's when Mozzie, like operators like Mozzie, Valkyrie, Maestro come into the play. So, of course, Mozzie being one of those operators who can snatch the drones from the attackers and gather a lot of information on them. I feel like a lot of new players should learn how to main Mozzie at this point. Like, he's one of those very good and versatile operators.
Well, oh wow! All right, I don't know where the IQ bites the dust, and it does fall down to a 3 versus 5. Did a player from Hoffen disconnect?
Yes, they did. Once again, I feel like it wasn't killing this time, though. I feel like they might be going for a rehost, but let's just see. They're rolling on with it, and Thatcher goes with that breach onto the piano wall, and Ash on that reverse rabble outside the piano. And once again, it becomes 3v4, and 1 minute 40 seconds into the round, Lame takes on Pinsy. The castle is no more. And on the attacking side, we have Ash, Nomad, and Thermite alive with the diffuser. And they're already in the piano.
I'm not really sure why they disposed of so much utility, even though they knew that the Jaeger gadget was right around the corner. But she does end up paying for it with her life as the flashbang blinds her instead. Hoffen Esports severely lacking in manpower as they're trying to recommit to fight because they really shouldn't. Ooh, that could have been a fight. One out. The air jab does push them back a little bit, but again, for how long is the question? Because there's a minute left on the clock, and Hoffen are yet to step foot within the bomb site. 4 men up from TBD, and this potentially could be a really good hold as MBY. Perfect job thus far with his positioning. The backstab is cancelled though, so a possibility here, but a fleeting one in that as well.
Now it's up to Nomad to do the work, and she has been pinned by so many sides right there. And she knows that there is someone behind that shield, and it's up to her and the air jabs she got. I don't think she has anymore, but she's already relying on her AK, but she doesn't make it through, and she loses her life in that crossfire made by the defenders. A very good hold by the defenders. I mean, they could have just easily run out to her, like the Nomad who was alone by herself. They could have just rushed into her and trying to get the kill. However, it was a very wise and nice choice made by the TBD not to go on them.
Exactly. We should have a rehost coming in courtesy of the disconnect, but so far, I feel like Hoffen Esports stand more of a chance in Cafe than they ever did in Border. At least for now, it seems like what they have is working to some extent, right? I feel like with the first round that they did net in the bag, it was a little bit of a hesitation coming in from TBD towards the last 30 seconds. But if Hoffen Esports are comfortable playing a slower brand of Rainbow Six Siege, then they might stand a good chance in Cafe. What do you presume? What do you think that Hoffen Esports need to do to push this to a third map in the semifinals?
As far as we know, Cafe is known to be one of those defender-sided maps. As we can see that the attackers had no choice but to drop down from the hatch and breach that piano wall in order to push into the side at least, or otherwise there are lots of windows and walls and where the defenders can be sitting and they can just easily spawn peek on you. And yes, it is going to be a little tough for Hoffen since they're on the attacking side, at least in the first few rounds when they're attacking. But let's just see. I hope they change their strats, or maybe, as always, take it a little bit slow and get a little bit better at the gunfight.
I feel like right now, I'm really hoping that Hoffen Esports have come in with some kind of X factor, something that you don't expect in the rabbit's hat, maybe a bunny in there, you never really know. I feel like if they go for something a little unorthodox, like what Reckoning did yesterday, they might stand a chance to push this to the third map. But if they keep going off their comfort zone and their defaults, I feel like that won't be enough. TBD seem far too prepared for this, and considering they will be able to net a decent bit of rounds on the defense, the offense should be far more easier for them. What do you feel about this kind of problem though? Because with Border, TBD didn't have that great of a chance in their offense. Their defense is where they stood strong. But here, I feel like it's going to be the opposite, where you've seen how powerful the crossfires could be. I feel like if they've been given chance on the offense to set up, if they're given enough time to set shop towards both the windows and the rafters up top, they should be able to net this one comfortably in the bag.
That is true. Uh, I feel like, as you said it earlier, the conventional ways of Hoffen trying to push in with the attackers pushing from the hatch and going into the piano by breaching the place. TBD is way too prepared for that. I can feel that. But if they can become a little bit unpredictable and in one round, that could work for them. But for that, they need a very well coordinated push because TBD, they have their room presence and they know how to hold their side. I mean, so far I have seen. And considering that TBD consists of a, like a few players I know have been playing this game for quite a long time, yes, it's going to pose a challenge for Hoffen.
And again, guys, we should have the rehost on our way at any moment. Before we do that, though, a huge shout out to our sponsors to make the GC Community Cup Rainbow Six Siege possible. Display partner Samsung, partners WD Black, Colorful, Games the Shop, and a huge shout out to NVIDIA to make this tournament possible as well. When you think of a game like Siege, right? You really want the best performance possible, and you could potentially get your hands on an array of colorful GTX and RTX graphic cards through RP Tech, which is India's official distributor for Colorful. Well, so far, I feel like this sets us up for an amazing grand finals. This it feels like both these teams, TBD and Hoffen Esports, they're fighting tooth for nail. It's going to, I guess, all cylinders for both of these teams to prove their worth to get to the grand finals, and they need to get the spot and they need to earn it in a way which I feel will eliminate a lot of these loose chains for both these teams. At this point, it doesn't come down to which team is making the best strat. It is which team is making the least amount of errors. Because we've seen that both these teams are at a very similar caliber. And coming to this level at Siege, it really relies on the fly calling and ingenuity from individual players as well.
That is true, of course, as Siege is a game which, where, as you say, like it all depends on the way you implement it. The entire team, it's the work of five people who have to coordinate at the same time, because even if you have the best of the strats, you might not be able to pull it off if you're not able to stand those gunfights or the coordination that should come from your team. As always, Siege has been one of those games which got me interested because of this fact only, that it requires so much of communication, so much of teamwork, so much of efforts going into the game, like apart from the aim. And sometimes people do talk about that even if your aim isn't that good, you can still be very good at this game if you know the its and bits of Rainbow Six. It just
Exactly.
is very interesting.
Communication is a very important point you
Yes,
bring
of
up because,
course.
especially in Siege, it becomes way more harder. At least in games like CS and Dota, you can win a game even as a team with a very minimal communication. But when it comes to a game like Siege, if you're not on point with how you approach with your teammates, you can't leave even a little bit of confusion in the air because that's what the opposition would like to capitalize upon. And I think we saw a good display of that in map one, right? Throughout the offense that Hetowef did try to present on border, it felt like TBD overall had better communication. And when it came down to those situations where there's 1 minute left on the clock and it's a three versus three, it felt like TBD were making the right moves, but also being very decisive about how they're making the right moves, doing it on time, doing it on cue when they're supposed to. Where it's felt like Hetowef were at least 15 seconds behind, where it looked like they had a little bit of a coordination issue, especially when it came to refragging and pushing the objective. And we've seen TBD pull this off time and time and again, and I feel like we can do this in the second map as well. It's going to be looking real scary if H2F do not secure these early few rounds, because TBD have been on fire ever since they started to set foot on this comeback trail.
That is true indeed. um, I would like to talk about how the teams, the having faith in your teammates is one of the points which actually makes your team grow as you know a team in tournaments. Because I have seen a lot of players in a lot of low level teams, or let's just say ranked plays, they just go on themselves, they just do the lone wolf thing, and they are, because they just don't have faith in their teammates, and they're like, you know what, I can take on the fight myself, I'm just gonna go, guys, you do whatever you want, I'm Ash, I'll go. So, you know, in the teams that have been here for quite a long time, let's just say, including Hoffen, I mean, a lot of teams like TVD, Reckoning, and a lot of big teams like Vector and whatnot, they have an amazing team coordination, and everybody has faith on everyone, especially the team leader who tells them, okay, yeah, we should push and whatnot, the one who makes the strat. So,
Well, it does
we
seem
are
like the
back.
rehost is complete and we are back 1 to 1. So far, it feels like both these teams could. It it feels like this game lies on the edge of a sword, right? It could go any direction and it can go that direction pretty fast and pretty swiftly.
That is true. And on the attacking side, we see a Dokebi taken into the account and Thermite Nomad Ash. But I would have loved to see an IQ into the play since we have an Echo and a Kaid to do the hatches since the defense team is going with the kitchen this time, and kitchen is one of those places. Yes, of course it is a defender sided map, but you need a little bit of roaming presence in the topmost floors. And since it has the hatches, like I feel like it has one or two hatches, of course, and it has one wall which needs to be
Attackers
bandit
need to
trick, but
locate
we
and
have
defuse
Kite
as
for
many
that.
bombs
He
as they
can
can.
trick both of the hatches and the walls which is inside the freezer.
Well, I really like this draft coming in from Hoffen Esports yet again. I feel like more teams should prioritize maybe a nomad ban from time to time, just due to
Yes.
how much they rely on roaming and how much they rely on it to succeed, right? The nomad is really good at not only denying roamers, but it's also very useful when it comes down to the last 20 seconds, where she can get a lot of control amidst the bomb
10
site, and
seconds left.
engagements could be taken on her turf and on her terms as well.
5
So
seconds remaining.
maybe a nomad ban should be expected in the in the second
Attackers must
semifinals and
locate
potentially
and
the
defuse
finals
the
as
bomb.
well. But so far, it doesn't seem like Nomad's going to be phased out anytime soon. TBD. On the other end, they've opted in for the Kite, and this is something I really like. I feel like even in the last round, TBD lacked a little in the way of firepower, and the
Attackers have
Kite is a
located a bomb.
beautiful addition to when you have a lesser amount of firepower, but he also could be a little of use when it comes in way of utility.
Of course, that could be true, and we can see that OKB has been swapped to IQ. I could not see that in the last round, and here we have IQ once again. She can counter that Kaid and that Echo, and we have the attackers going from the topmost floor towards the kitchen as it should be. I have seen that happening in a lot of matches, especially ranked, and it is one of those basic strats. And every high player remembers that if you're advancing to the basement level bomb sites, you have to take over
Ooh,
that or take over that first round, and we can see that Valkyrie goes down trying to pry on the on those attackers,
A
and she
bomb has
thought
been
she was
located.
sly, but once again, that attacker was seeing that coming.
exactly. Like you said, there's a lot of potential for spawn peak, and usually, if that's the case, you might need to go lone wolf. And this time around, she's caught. Not
Yes.
much in way of backup coming her way, regardless. TBD. A man down, but it is the Valve. As long as she's placed all her cameras out, it really won't be that big a loss, as they would be able to play on the back of this aggressive information that she's able to gather.
Because as the attackers are busy clearing out the trains and the second floor possibly, and once again they might go for the breach on the second floor. I mean, if they have to play vertical, that is, and I can already see a vertical play coming. And when the defense has taken kitchen, it is absolutely a good choice for the attackers to focus on the vertical rather than pushing into the bomb site. I feel like it's only 50 seconds into the round, and yet none of the attackers have made it to the defense. And the yes, the breach will set down on that hatch by the Thatcher and sorry, Thermite, and they might just go into the freezer in no time.
Thermite is doing a real good job at putting up a lot of rotation avenues that TBD need to be worried about. At the same time, applying pressure towards the ground floor. It feels like Hoffen Esports want to try and squeeze out as many weak links from the DPD defense, and that's exactly what's going to happen as the castle falls as well. A 3 versus 5 now, but with the time ticking so low, Hoffen Esports aren't really in the best of positions. Luckily, the first kill comes in. The Echo, he's doing a real good job at retaliation. It's down to 1 versus 3. Hoffen Esports, this is what happens when time ticking so desperately low. Oh, wow! What a double kill! She jumps down into the midst of heat, but yeah, she doesn't survive for long. Luckily, TBD find the refrag in the nick of time and are able to bag this round. What really went wrong there was the amount of time it took for Hoffen Esports to go down and get dirty in the heat of the battle. Because with 15 seconds left on the clock and only with them stepping foot at the bomb site at that moment, they didn't have a lot of time to clear the bomb site. Amidst the chaos, the Echo alongside his mates on the crossfire were able to completely dismantle that take.
IQ was absolutely hell on those defenders who were hiding behind that counter. I mean, only if she had a little bit more seconds to herself, I feel like she could have just taken that attacker rushing, so defender rushing in onto her. But for IQ, she just didn't see that coming, and she had to just shift W towards the defensive side, like the bomb side and plan. But that didn't work out for her, and Hoffen
Attackers
lost
need to locate
lost the
and
round.
defuse as many bombs as they can.
TBD, you said that this is more of a defender-oriented map, right? Or is it the other way around? I'm getting a little confused because this is not a map that I see as often as maybe a coastline or a border.
No, Cafe is one of those sites. I haven't seen a lot of teams choosing Cafe. I mean, I have seen quite a lot of teams choosing it in the Pro League since Cafe Rework is relatively new to the scene. Like Cafe is one of those
10 seconds
oldest
left.
bomb sites, but yeah, it got a rework, and the thing is,
5
it's
seconds
not
left.
been chosen by a lot of teams I have seen so far. So yeah, of course, Cafe.
Objective is to
From what I
locate a
have
bomb and
played in the
defuse it.
map, yeah, it kind of feels like it is like border, and like in terms of defender sided, yeah, it's similar to border. Like the attackers have to work a lot to get to the bomb site.
You better hope that Hoffen Esports hurry up the pace this time around, even though they got that initial 2 kills in their bag. It felt like they were far too slow even for their own comfort, and TBD completely capitalizing upon that. Again, they do have the Valk who will be able to gather a bit of aggressive information. This time around, they have the Pulse faced in, and this is a pick that I like. This is a pick that is reliant on HOF trying to split up and play individually. And these walls might not be fortified for a reason. There might be a pulse in the opposition, which often esports always need to keep in the back of their head. Ash trying to go for an early pick, and she's trying to force her way through the train room, but yeah, I'm not really sure what the game plan was there. Why? Why did she do that when her mate was all the way back, but there was nobody in position to support or even refrag? Why?
Um,
Why would Hoffen Esports even consider this to be a good strategy? Because it just felt like they were relying on dumb luck to go their way. If they try to force themselves to win the train room yet again, this would be a horrible disaster, as now he's being punched in and closed in from 2 different positions. TBD, what? I don't understand. Hoffen Esports, why did they force their way towards such uncomfortable engagements when they could have simply played time and position?
as we can see the chats, I feel like the team members of Hoffen need to make themselves a little more awake. Whatever they were doing on screen, that was a little, I mean, unexpected, as we can say that everybody rushed into that hole made by one attacker, and one by one they just tried to go in and got killed from the roamers and from the anchors who were inside the site. I just didn't expect that to happen. And on the defense side, we can see that they are going with a trap operator, Capcan, and Castle and Echo, Jaeger and Valkyrie. Of course, Valkyrie is a very good choice in Cafe, since Cafe is one of those maps. It has a lot of
Attackers need to
entrances and
locate and
places
defuse
where
bombs.
attackers can move and rappel upon. Valkyrie, I mean, this is one of those, like, there is one of those strats where Valkyrie throws her camera outside and it provides to be an absolute good thing for the defenders.
Bomb located by attackers.
Well, they've opted in for the bar defense yet again. TBD, it doesn't seem like this is gonna be deterring them from the roam whatsoever. Previously, when they did opt in for the kitchen defense, they had a minor issue when it came to Valve being all too lonesome towards the top floor. But now it's gonna be more on Hoffen Esports to both clear the lower corridors and to rappel in from above to make this one successful. Which I feel like it's going to be significantly harder for them to pull off.
That could be the case. And this time we have on the attacking team people and Ash and IQ on the Hoffen side. But I'm looking at them that they will be pushing from the third floor once again. And this time they are trying their best to make this a roam clear, especially the piano. And Ash throws her drone in, trying to see if there is any roamer nearby. And I feel like they have actually set up that place. I mean, of course, a roam game from TBD is expected.
Well, but Hoffen Esports yet to find any success with finding any backstab. Luckily,
yet.
the Nomad is setting up for it though, so not as much in way of a worry. But I feel like TBD, as time runs lower and lower, it should cement their hold towards the kitchen and the bar.
We can see that a castle strat is working well in this bar site, and the attackers have to rely on Zofia or someone else with a breach charge to break those through. However, we can see that piano is already broken and the attackers are already inside the piano, and one is near cigar waiting for any defenders to show up. And maybe the attackers are aware that there is someone behind that shield.
Finally started gaining grounds outside the bomb site, but Hoffen
Whoa,
Esports getting blown to smithereens as the early man advantage goes the way of TBD. And considering that everybody from Hoffen Esports are just held at bay, TBD are doing so good so far on the hold. Ash, the blast will remove the shield certainly, as now they might have an avenue to enter, but it doesn't seem like that's the case. Wait, what? How did that blast not blow the shield apart?
Yeah,
Now it does.
It did. Of course, that nitro coming from the Capcan was pretty good. I mean, considering how well the team knows the map. And we can see that Zofia is trying to look for the defender, and she doesn't see that man on the white stairs, and she loses her life, and it's 3v4, 1v, what?
Wow!
1v5 in just
from the
2
top
seconds.
side.
It's only 3 seconds, 30 seconds with the round, and Ash goes down, and the defenders have it to themselves.
What a beautiful beat from the Capcom, just blowing her up long range, and the entirety of the offense just blown to bits. I feel like TBD are just at another level right now, considering their defense has been stellar thus far. This is going to be quite the disadvantage that Hoffen have to play from. If they could mirror a comeback to what TBD did in the last map, that's their only hope at this point, because it feels like TBD are just far too much at a lead and they need to be put to a stop as soon as humanly possible.
On the round 6 rolls in, and Hoffen only sitting with 1 win, and TBD going along with 4 wins. And on the this time the defense has gone down to kitchen. And on the defensive team, TBD goes with the Valkyrie. I move to Lion goes with Valkyrie. DSZ goes with Kaid. Pincy goes with Castle. AVM goes with Jaeger. And Kostav goes with Echo right there. Echo, since he has been not banned, I mean, I feel like Hoffen should have banned Echo. I mean, Echo could be posing a hell lot of threats to the attacking teams. They're already taking a little bit while pushing into the bomb sites, considering how well these defenders know how to put up the crossfire.
5 seconds left before insertion. Attackers objective is to
TBD have a similar draft as well, and there's no reason for them to change considering how comfortable they've been looking thus far. Hoffen Esports on the other end, this time they phase in the Buck. Do you think that the Buck pick is going to change?
Yes, of course. Of course. Buck, since they have taken kitchen, Buck is a very good choice when it comes down to vertical. Because, of course, if you want to put a lot of pressure on the defenders, that is the TBD right there, their only option is to go actually rely on Buck, since his skeleton key can provide a lot of good angles on the train floor, which goes directly towards the kitchen. So I hope to see a well-rounded vertical play from Hoffen this time.
A bomb has been located.
Well, they certainly could use verticality, but they need to try and approach this from the floor beneath for that to work. Hoffen Esports. They're going slow about this. They're allowing the IQ to do her magic, and now they at least have a little wind as to what's up, right? TBD on the other end. They have the Valkyrie who has placed pretty aggressive cameras. If I'm not wrong, there's one towards the adjacent building as well. So they'll have wind of who's rappelling where pretty
Attackers have located a
soon.
bomb.
We can see that this time Hoffen has gone with a different approach. What I was talking about earlier about not doing it when you're in a team. They are going a little bit solo on themselves, but I feel like they might get that Valkyrie. Of course they do. In 1 minute 20 seconds into the round, killing was on that Valkyrie who was trying to hide and get on her cameras, and it's up to Buck who can make the vertical plays happen along with Sophia.
Lion hasn't been having the best of games. He's been falling prey to these aggressive. He's been falling prey to these hunts quite often, and Hoffen Esports having a good outread on at least one of the TBD's players, but not the entirety of TBD's defense, sadly.
You can see Ash is already in the bar. I mean, behind, like, very much close to the kitchen. Actually, if she can manage to break that castle barricade, and I don't know what's. Oh, there we go. Lockdown gets a very good angle on a VM through that vertical plays. As I pointed it out earlier, if you just get the vertical game on when the defenders are on the kitchen side.
But Seri, look at the time. This is where TBD have been their best thus far, the last 20 seconds, and this is where Hoffen Esports have fallen prey prior as well. It's going to be a real hard ask. Considering the diffuser is dropped, it's all going to be on TBD to cam the diffuser, but an engagement, how didn't he win it out? It seemed like he was dead on with his placement, and it's down to a 3 versus 2. Make it a 1 versus 2, as it's all left onto the Echo, sorry, it's all left onto Sophia. She jumps down, but to her eventual demise, as TBD just weighed this round out. Again, Hoffen Esports boiling the clock down uncomfortably low. Boy. Oh no, Hoffen. This is getting too repetitive, even for their comfort, because they get the initial kills, which is good, but they wait far too long after they get those kills to even push the objective, which is where
That's true.
This is just the same story in rinse and repeat for TBD. They don't have any reason to change, but now since they've swapped sides over, they could just look for a swift 2-0 victory in our first semifinals today.
And we can see 2 hard breaches on their team, TBD, going for those. I am smelling a very aggressive push this time, considering they know that the opposite team is faltering a bit. About the last round, of course, I got a little carried away how the vertical plays can be so good, but once again, I feel like Hoffen has to work on their time management and know when to push when the clock is ticking down. I hope, and since they have got the bar side to themselves, I hope they're able to defend it and waste TBD's time like they did to Hoffen. I hope to see that.
10 seconds left.
I don't feel like Hoffen Esports are going to be as comfortable playing this one slow though. I feel like Hoffen Esports are going to try getting a little aggressive of a defense coming in, because they have the Kite, they have the Mozzie, they have the Jaeger, and they have the Echo alongside the Valk, who all could potentially... Again, we've seen a lot of aggressive operator usage with all these 5 operators, and the best part about this is they have the Valk. So they can get aggressive information and get aggressive on the back of that information, which might be the undoing of TBD, but I'm expecting TBD to be on the top of their game, which is also to expect aggression coming their way.
Aggression is what I can see right now. I mean, they are 2 minutes down to the round, and they are trying their best to go into the building, at least for now. I feel like Hibana has to use her pellets to break that breach, that wooden hatch, since none of them had a breaching charge. And the drones, I would say the drone placement in the site is what actually gives a lot of information to the attackers. And we can see that Zofia is already aware of that man inside the train, and she gets shot from somewhere, and does she get the kill on the Mozzie? She does absolutely. She does get that kill on Mozzie, who was trying to retreat and could not retreat on time.
I'm so surprised that she didn't flinch when she was getting shot. Normally
Yeah.
you'd see players panic and be like, oh, guys, where am I
located
getting
by
shot from?
attacker.
But she was ice cold. She's like, I know where you are. I know where you live. I'll
I mean,
find
it's
you.
Sophia,
I'll hunt
God.
you. Yeah, exactly. And now with that man advantage, Hoffen
Attackers have located
Esports,
a bomb.
sorry, man disadvantage, Hoffen Esports might be pushed to a very uncomfortable stance. But they've done a real good job at denying TBD any control over the objective thus far. With a minute 18 left on the clock, all they need to do is not offer engagements where TBD might be on the upper end. The doc, if I'm not wrong, that's the Frost. He's just hiding his way through. The peak comes, but why? Why would he do that? There was no reason for them to take that fight, and this might be the undoing for Hoffen Esports, but they are fighting back. Kill him. He's gotten one kill thus far, and the Frost, sorry, the Echo, he's just hiding, biding his time, taking the engagements as they come his way. Hoffen Esports, the man disadvantage. They should be able to convert though, as there's 40 seconds left on the clock.
Bomb diffuser has been dropped.
The attackers are already inside the piano, and we can see that I moved to Lions trying to get an angle on them, and two people already left. And
Wow!
she enters the freezer 1v4 already into the round. 30 seconds, less than 30 seconds, and the Valkyrie goes down. TBD backs the win with an absolutely good push and a well coordination.
Again, I don't see any crossfires being set in play. There's no...
Nope.
Why are Hoffen Esports just peeking single file and hoping to get a kill and fall back? That's not how you play on the defense towards the last minute. At the last minute, you're expected to set up for the push by either the way of a crossfire, maybe a lesion or a frost trap, depends on how your draft goes. But that is certainly not the way you play the last minute of a round.
And this time it is the match point, and on the attacking team we see a gridlock taken into the account along with all the women of Siege. And on the defense team we have Echo, Valkyrie, Mozzie, Kaid, and Jaeger. And I feel like, yeah, of course they're going to the bar and cocktail lounge. And the IQ might be, yeah, she is IQ. And this time I would like to talk about how gridlock comes into the play when it is about the bar
Defenders,
side.
protect your bombs from being defused
Her-
by attackers.
Her track stingers, I feel, yeah, they are called the track stingers. It can be a very powerful weapon when it's thrown down from that skylight above the bar and into a lot of places where you don't want the where you want to just cut off the place for the defenders to fall back and whatnot. And especially with her gun, and considering how she is 3 armor, I feel like it's gonna be a little more tougher for Hoffen to fight against the attackers.
10 seconds left.
I feel like this entire ordeal is one big heartache for Hoffen.
Yes.
Their own map pick, it went in such a heartbreaking manner, and
Attackers are
now
moving out.
with
Did we
map
just see
2,
that?
Defuse it.
Like Valkyrie offered her Pokeball to one of the drones that was sitting hungry. I saw that. At least it looks like a puppy to me.
well, at this point, I guess they're trying to be as kind and as lenient as they can to Hoffen Esports.
Like, have my Valkyrie black eye. There you go, little drone. Prosper in your life.
Well, you better hope that Hoffen Esports try and retaliate, right? I want to see more of a fight. But now it's too much of a one-sided affair coming in from TBD.
They're wasting no time, and Nomad is making sure that there is nobody walking on them from the red stairs. And Hibana onto that wall, trying to reach it out. And she might just do that. She drops in, trying to pry into the side. Piano waiting for anybody to show up. The defenders and the attackers are already in. Zofia on her concussion grenades already. And there is an echo somewhere. And we can see a very good nitro placement. Luther gets 2 kills in 1 nitro, and absolutely well-timed play right there, Luther. 200 IQ plays.
Exactly, 2 girls, 1 nitro. Best
Oh.
combo you could go for if you're Team Hoffen, because anything going your way right now would be a significant boost to what they already have. A minute 30 on the clock, a 2-man disadvantage for TBD. But we've seen them pull back rounds from far worse, right? It's still more than just a possibility that TBD could be bagging themselves this round.
1 minute 15 seconds into the round, and Nomad is trying to secure the place, and it goes to 4v3. I move the line, gets Kuntal right there, and Nomad is sure that there is someone behind that shield, and everybody, all the attackers are well rounded into the side. And she doesn't really get that Jaeger who peeks onto her. It goes to 4v2. It's 50 seconds into the round, and Nike goes down to that Mozzie 4v1. However, Hoffen wins the defending round this time.
And that's a really smart play by Jaeger as well, right? As soon as he realized that his utility is tanking a little bit of damage, he went in for the peak, balls aggressive, and he doesn't care if he dies. He doesn't care if he's walking into the crossfire. He wants that pick off. And he did it in a smart manner as well. I
He did a quick
move
pick, of course.
exactly. I moved to Lion having a kind of a difficult game, I'd say. Didn't find as much success in the defending side, and even on the offense, he's been having quite the slow start. But this is something I've been waiting for all day. My favorite operator, Fuse. We've not
Fuse.
seen much of him throughout the entire tournament. I don't think I've seen much of Fuse all throughout Indian Siege. He's, I feel like, one of the more underrated operators, but given how willing that these teams are willing to boil the time down, I feel like Fuse might be a real good pick here, especially if they're able to dismantle the Jaeger's gadget relatively early.
Attackers need
They
to
might
locate and
do
defuse
that,
bombs.
but considering how Jaeger's ADS, or the so-called Magpie, can bag so many, like can stop so many grenades and flashbangs, if unless they're placed correctly, Fuse is going to be a hell of a
Bomb
pain
located
in
by
the bottom
attackers.
for the defenders, considering how they have taken the kitchen counter this time. And Fuse just has to go upstairs and put his cluster charges into the place. Unless there's a Roman nearby, he might not
10
be able to
seconds
do that.
left before insertion. 5 seconds left.
They do have the Echo and the Smoke combo, which again is something that we didn't see a lot of today. But I feel like if Hoffen Esports are willing to take this, if their engagements at about a minute 30's marker, the amount of deny they'll have is a lot, considering that TBD might be looking for taking this late as well. They have the Ying, they have the Fuse operators, which will be of a lot of utility once that final push comes in.
That could be true. And Ying might be the case. I mean, Ying, along with Fuse, could be so powerful towards that defending team, and we can already see a rapid. Of course, as I had noticed, Fuse is on to his cluster charges, placing it one by one, and there we saw that there was a explosion near him. I suppose it came from the Pulse, who was unsuccessful in his attempt.
Well, initial engagement taken, the Fuse taken dangerously low, and he needs to disengage. Hoffen Esports, they do come off with the man disadvantage though, as the Vigil gets picked off in his roaming expeditions. And they're trying to compensate for that fact by trying to reaggress, but again, against a Ying, against Sophia, it's not really the best of choices for you to make. Taking engagements on different terms doesn't seem like it's gonna help the Pulse. Sorry, it doesn't seem like it's gonna help the Fuse as much, as he's already tagged dead low. Now he's dead. They
And we can
neutralize the man
see-
advantage, and now the push towards kitchen. Although I moved to line, we told that you didn't have that great of a game, but he's stepping up when his team needs it the most.
Whoa, oh
Wow!
my! RVM gets that triple kill, and it boils down to 1v4 because of how the Sinister getting on that side. And Home doesn't see that coming.
What an end! Avim with a beautiful triple, and this is just the cherry on top of the icing to. Okay, this is. This got over so fast that I don't think that anybody was ready for it, even TBD for that fact.
Considering how, of course, as we saw that the defenders, like two of them, I think it was the Jaeger and the Pulse, who were like dancing around the red stairs, but didn't see that attacker coming, especially when it was a VM, and a VM is one of those oldest players in, like, he's a very experienced player, and I have like people, like, he's known for his very good aim. So of course he gets those two defenders who couldn't really put a chance right there, and it just boiled down to 1v4 in no time.
Exactly. TBD with a 2-0 victory in the first semifinals of the day, and they cement their spot in the grand finals. I'd say that they have made a statement, right? TBD, of the disadvantage in border, they managed to mount a very, very impressive comeback. And in Cafe, it's been domination ever since the start, where initially Hoffen got a couple of rounds. I'd say they got the second round and post that only one round, like seen. But TBD, such patient plays, even though they've been on multiple disadvantages throughout the round, they're more than comfortable boiling it down to the last 15 seconds and then winning it on the back of crossfire, team play, and more importantly, timed aggression and timed fights, which TBD seem to be on the top of for now. A well-deserved grand finalist spot goes to them, but kudos to HOF as well, right? They put on a real good fight, even though the score on the board doesn't suggest it. It felt like they had a chance in every round. It's just that as soon as the time started bleeding down, their chances started bleeding and fleeting away as well. Can't wait for the second semifinals between Reckoning Esports and Phoenix. Who do you think is favored between Reckoning and Phoenix? I feel like Reckoning have a real good chance of taking this, but like this game showed, anything is possible, and Phoenix will still have their chance at making their underdog run. What do you feel?
Phoenix consists of like good old players, just like Reckoning. So I feel like Phoenix will give Reckoning Esports a hard time. But once again, let's just see how well the luck is on their side and how well the team is coordinated. Once again, it's about time management and how well the strats are implemented into the scene. We are yet to see that.
And a huge shout out to our sponsors to make this tournament come to life. Display partner Samsung, partners WD Black, Colorful, and Games the Shop, and a huge shout out to NVIDIA as well. Again, I feel like the next semifinal is going to be the most heated match that we will be seeing in this entire tournament. But hey, we have a lot that awaits us. And if anything is to allude to how interesting it is today, I guess we could take a lot from this match. A lot should be said about the way Reckoning Esports could play. We've seen them play hyper aggressive yesterday, where they just do not give two hoots. They have that Monty pick that's always been a menace, I'd say, to their opposition. At least yesterday, they showed the true power of a Monty, right? The amount of pressure he can put on a defense, and just being that one decoy that just doesn't go off and allowing the rest of his team to strike from different angles. It's how you set up around the Monty, not how the Monty plays at the end of the day.
That is of course the facts right there. And uh,
Well, I think Reckoning Esports are going to be eager to play the next game, but we're going to have a small break. I hope that Reckoning versus Phoenix would deliver on all cylinders and on all fronts. This didn't go to a best of three, but it went damn close to a real exciting game. We have another really high octane game waiting for us, but we'll be back after a short break. See you guys in a few minutes.
The moment of creation is a form of magic, where an off becomes an on, a zero becomes a one, then another, and another, until, deep in the complexity, you discover order, speed, reliability, power. Experience the WD Black NVMe SSD. Fueled by darkness. Level up to NVMe SSD performance.
To become This is my moment. I got a most exciting time. It's all about humanity.